Hi, everyone. My name is Francois. I work at Applicaster, and I'm going to talk to you about brownfield React Native apps with multiple React Native roots as standalone NPM packages. So at this point, you may wonder what this is and if it's a good thing, so I have 5 minutes to try to convince you. Those of you who started to play with React Native, a greenfield integration, so where your entire UI is React Native, know that it's fairly simple nowadays, and especially with tools like Expo. But if you have, like we do, native apps already with a lot of features and things like that, you may want to give like brownfield integration a try. And this is when things start to get a bit rough. So at Applicaster, we have a platform where customers who are not necessarily developers, they can easily create media apps, right, for iOS and Android. So what they do, they go into our CMS, they configure their app, and then they press the build button and they get a binary for iOS and Android that they can distribute it in any way they want. Our SDK includes a lot of features out of the box, but very soon we decided to create a plugin infrastructure so that they could override some of the feature in the SDK and even create like additional features to have like a different video player, a login, whatever. A couple years ago, we thought that it would be great if we could allow developers to use React Native for those plugins because it's a very fast way and efficient environment to use. So we decided to include that into our SDK and offer this opportunity to our developer. Our first attempt was a bit of a naive implementation where basically one React Native plugin had to build its bundle, put it on a server, and then we would download and cache this in the app, and we would integrate and have one React Native host and one manager per plugin, right? And we would orchestrate this with our native layer. We saw very quickly that this was not the right way for several reasons. First of all, even if you have just a Hello World app on React Native, it's 1 megabyte because it contains all the JS React Native library. So if you have 20 or 30 plugins in your app, you have that many bundle size, so it becomes unmanageable. The app was also a bit unstable and had unreliable behavior, especially when you were navigating from React Native plugin A to React Native plugin B or from native to React Native. We had some crash and things that were really hard to debug and really hard to fix. And also, it was hard to support multiple React Native versions because when you run the app, the version used to build the bundle needs to be the same as the version used that you have on the native app at the same size. So basically, we had to find a solution that could be completely dynamic because before we build an app, we don't know what the plugins would be, how many there will be, or anything like that. And we needed to have something that scaled. And we realized that what we could do is that we could have only one React host and one React Instant Manager on our native app. We could basically have the plugin be shipped through NPM instead of relying on build bundles on S3 or anything like that. And at build time, we could generate the React Native entry point and then build that bundle and have only one React Native bundle inside our app and then have utility classes on the native side to very easily present those React Native views. With this setup, basically all the issues that I talked about were gone, and we also gained the benefit of being able to rely on NPM as a distribution channel for our plugins, which is a lot easier because developers, they're already familiar with it. So how does it work? Very quickly. So on the JS side, nothing different. Your plugin is just an NPM package. You create your package JSON, you create your code, you export your component, you publish it to NPM, and that's it. Then you have like a declarative list of the packages that you use. So it could be something static that you have on your repository. And your plugins could be like in a mono repo in different folders inside your repository. But for us, we pull that from our CMS, from our server. And then what we do is that we install all those plugins at build time, and we generate with a templating engine an index where we basically write the import statement and the app registry component in there. Right. And with this, we can have only one bundle that aggregates all the plugin. We're sure that we have tools that prevent naming collision and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out to be very fast and very efficient. And in native, it's as simple as just using a container view, the module name, and the props that you want to inject, and you present the view, and you can basically have any React Native view anywhere in your native app. On Android, it's a bit more work. On iOS, it's a lot easier, but in both platforms, it works really well. So if you want to have a look, I invite you to have a look at this repository. Our basic SDKs are not open source yet, but we prototype the things that I've just talked about in this repository. So I invite all you guys to have a look. And yeah, even if you don't have a setup which is completely dynamic and things like that, it can still be worth it, because if you build your app with all your React Native features as individual plugins in a monorepo or something, you're sure that you have like you guide it into like a proper and structured way to design your features in isolation and things like that, but you still have a very reliable and very fast way to present them on your native app. So thanks to all of you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.